Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King. And today I'm going to be giving you part 2 of What If Naruto Failed His Genin Test and Was Given Intense Training. Yes guys, part 2. Remember to get this one to 100 likes as usual. Share this to all of your friends in your social media platform. And also guys, go ahead and check out the brand new episode of What If Naruto Had Cosmic Energy over on Anime King 3. Links will be down in the description for you guys to enjoy. And I also post a new episode of What If Naruto Was Neglected and Lost Everything over on Anime King 2. Yes guys, so go over there and enjoy that. And if you're new here, I have 3 channels: Anime King 2 and Anime King 3. Links will be down in the description for Anime King 2 and Anime King 3 for you guys to enjoy. I post What If every single day on each channel, so 3 What Ifs a day. So come and be a part of the Anime King family, and thank you for all for your help and your support guys. And yeah, without further ado, what do you say begin this new episode? Start the intro. So, the last spot we left off, as Naruto was happy, as today was finally the Genin test, and he couldn't wait to take it. As he couldn't wait, he was excited. Over the years, Naruto has realized that people don't really like him that much, and the constant glares and the talks behind his back was really getting to him. So he decided to do something to make them stop, and that was completely blocking himself out. As he went into a bit of isolation, staying by himself, people really noticed him nowadays. As he made his way to the academy, as Sasuke nodded him, the both of them had a rather good understanding. Both of them were people who want to stay by themselves and didn't want to be annoyed by the people around them. Sasuke, for one, didn't want to be annoyed by the annoying fangirls, as Naruto just wanted to be left alone. The test was given as Saruto was watching everything, as Mizuki allowed Naruto to pass, despite him failing to create the shadow clone, as he probably felt sorry for him, one orphan to another. But Sarutobi knew that Naruto would go out there and get himself killed, as he wasn't ready for something like this. So he created a team that he knew will fail and get sent back, as he switched up the teams a bit, and takes Sakura Haruna and placed her on Naruto's team, as in the physical part of her test, she was not really good. Danzo came in as he had a proposition for Sarutobi, as he had someone that he can put on the team. As Danzo, talked to Sarutobi. After a while, Sarutobi accepted. So the next morning, Naruto went to the school. Sakura, Sai, and Naruto, they were on a team together, as Sakura was angry that she wasn't placed with her Sasuke-kun. But their sensei was Aoba, as a man took them to IT department. Uncle came by and told them that a prisoner was on the loose, as their sensei had warned them not to come in, so they stay outside. After a few hours, he came out and told them they all failed. They were told that there was a prisoner on the loose, and yet they did not inform him. There was another way though if they didn't want to go to the academy, boot camp. And they could get back into the regular shinobi forces, but they would just be a team without a sensei. As they decided to accept this after some talks. As Sarutobi talked to Aoba, the both of them decided that it was the best way for them to get stronger before they joined the shinobi ranks. So with that, they made their way as Sakura felt embarrassed. As everyone else passed, they were the only ones. Aoba made their way as rain started to fall. He head up before them as they were to trek the mountain to find the boot camp. They heard bandits talking that they had kidnapped a Jonin from Konoha, as the group was shot by that. Sai didn't want to go there as there was no way they could defeat all the bandits and rescue Aoba if he got captured by the bandits. But they talk about it, and Sakura and Naruto wanted to help him. So they convinced Sai to come along. Aoba was using this to see what would they do, as the 2 Konoha ninjas were stationed there as bandits as they transformed. It was then that they saw the ink creatures coming. It seems that they plan on rescuing Aoba, so this should be fun. So yeah guys, so basically that's where we left off. You guys can switch across to the playlist and check it out for yourself. So this will begin this new episode. The two guards find it rather amusing as they thought they could hide from them. They knew that they were behind the tree. They were on a very thin thread right now. After all, there was only one way for them to pass the exam right now. They were to release their sensei without being captured. That was one of the ways. But if they had went back to Konoha and get aid, they would have passed. Not going back to Konoha and save their sensei because they knew the time was running out was something to be proud of morally. But it was only worth it if they actually saved him. If they did not, it was a waste of time and they would be sent back to the academy. The ink mouse went back towards the wielder as the two turned to each other with a smile. The mouse came back as it came upon the scroll that Sai had, as the ink turned into letters describing the complex of the area and the enemies there and their sensitive location. There's at least 17 guards going around the camp, said Sakura. She looked over to where the camp actually was. It was a wooden fort with a low palisade and a couple of wooden buildings, the smaller of which serve as a prison. On the other side of the fort, the palisade is low. We can climb over it, said Naruto. These ink mice were rather useful. It was rather surprising that he was an E-rank jutsu. Probably the boy had a shinobi relative, or he was just an extremely skilled graduate. He was homeschooled, wasn't he? As Naruto felt a bit of envy at the notion, Sakura had left the academy with the highest grades. Sai was homeschooled, and he himself could barely make 2 workable clones. The patrols are tight, said Sai. We can get in, but we need a distraction for getting out. Maybe you should leave me outside, said Sakura, with one of Sai colored scroll. I mean, you two get in after the patrol, and as soon as you guys head over the guys, I pour chocolate into the thing. People get distracted and you get in and out. After all, I can't really walk with a sprained ankle. If only we had radios. You could work as our oversight, said Naruto. You could tell us where the patrols are from a vantage point and so on. Radios? Like these, Dickless, said Sai, as he pulled out a plastic bag out of his backpack with a set for 3 radios. Naruto blinked. Yeah, he said. What else do you have in the bag, he asked. Sai simply opened up the bag. A gleeful look came on Naruto's face. Meanwhile, Mibu was a Chunin of Konoha. As things stand right now, he was at the gate with Izumo that was transformed into a bandit, as the both of them were. As he was hoping that the Genins didn't take the gate to come in. He didn't really expect them to get in unnoticed. After all, they were just kids and they were new. Well, he never expected this at all. Smoke bombs rained down on them with a hail of shuriken. A black lion burst through the gate, roaring as it went off into the complex. Having to act like a bandit, he had to faint, getting hit by the shurikens, and then he had to play dead. Izumo suffered the same fate as he went down as a bandit. Soon, the sounds of yelling could be heard inside the camp. After all, they were bandits, they had to play their role well. Bandits didn't have proper ninja skills. Izumo heard an explosion as he cracked open one eye to see another ink lion dashed off to the other side. He heard a buzz in his ear as the communication from the standard boot camp operative came through. I don't know if I should send you all back to the academy or not. Mission's over. Both him and Shinobu stood up as they made their way confused what the hell was going on. As they reached to see 4 Chunins of Konoha entangled in wires. 2 of the other guards were slightly charred while one of the buildings was set on fire. Did you know that smoke bomb and alcoholic infused ink are flammable materials? The voice of Katetsu said as he walked up to them. He had a rather amused glance on his face. He shook his head and took a deep breath. I don't know how they did that, but in a second, we were swarmed with explosive, flaming mice that distracted us. And they launched another failed attack. Then the main team came in and kidnapped Aoba and left the main gate. The inclines, said Shinobu. There was one of the Genins, the pale-skinned one. He was inside of it. He got to their sensei and drew another lion to get out. Since we thought a frontal attack was suicidal, we thought it was just a diversion. The second Genin, the Jinjulki, he was a piece of work. He actually nearly sliced the throat of Sayato. We didn't see him, but we caught a glimpse and we followed him to the alley. That was what happened, as he pointed towards the tangled shinobis in the wires. And the girl asked Izumo. She was on the lookout, binoculars and radio on her side. By the time we looked towards her position once again, the Jinjulki had taken her and get the hell out of there. They got us. So it's a pass for them and a fail for us, says Shinobu. And it's Team 13. That's the first in how long, said Katetsu? About 5 years. Nah, I think it's 9. Meanwhile, Aoba finally opened his eyes, coming out of his faint knockout, as his 3 students had dug a ditch in the ground, as they covered it up to block out the light of the fire pit, as they were huddled together. He knew it sounded cold-hearted, but he truly expected for them to fail. He thought they would have done something bad, lack of teamwork, left that Genin behind or something like that. He hadn't thought they actually would be able to save him, and the way the Jinjulke Naruto was shivering, it made him wonder if it was because of the wet clothes or something else. "You're weak, Sensei," said Sai. Sakura and Naruto turned as they met his gaze. The eyes weren't there to look at him in relief. They were accusing glares. "There was no one in the camp that could have captured you, Sensei. And you're not with a wound," said Naruto, as he sounded like someone that was barely holding in his anger. "They had a specific walk pattern. Shinobi-like," said Sai. "I also saw them from my position, Sensei. Some of them dropped the hench the moment Naruto left," said Sakura. "Did you just want to fail us, Sensei?" Naruto asked. And for once, Aoba was speechless. He had indeed planned something like that. Is it because of me?" Naruto asked. Of course it wasn't because Naruto was the Kyuubi of the Jinjulke, but it was because they weren't ready to become shinobis. He was trying to do them a favor, trying to get them to back off the shinobi business unless they were really prepared. As Naruto took his silence, that it was because of him. As Naruto clenched his fist tight. What? What did I do to you?" The other 2 went silent. "What did I do to all of you?" he shouted. "Why, do you all hate my goddamn guts?" he said. "I cannot tell you, Naruto." Before Naruto was going to scream at him, he spoke. "You have to ask the Hokage about that." He took his glasses off as he started to clean them. The angry face of Naruto told him that he was not satisfied with the answer. But that was the best he can do. "You will see him soon enough. You all pass," he said. "You haven't answered our previous question, Sensei," said Sai. "No, I did not want to fail you because of Naruto. I wanted to fail all of you because, in my opinion, you are not ready for the shinobi world." His words made Sakura gasp a bit. As Naruto remained calm, Sai was completely blank. As that made Aoba curious. How was it possible for a graduate to be so calm and collected, even in these times? His face was always blank. "But I was the first in the class, Sensei," said Sakura. "But doing physical, you were amongst the last." Naruto here was the last in his class through most of the academy. Even though he improved a bit in the end, he was still pretty close to dead last. As Aoba spoke once more, the only exception would be Sai here. His grades were on par with Sasuke, the Rookie of the Year. I would have suggested taking on an apprenticeship with available Jonin than repeat the school year. Sakura's eyes were filled with tears, but Naruto gazed. That was what made Aoba wince. It was empty. It was like it didn't matter to the boy that he actually passed the exam. He was not throwing himself in the air, cheering. He was not. Thinking about what he said a moment ago, he did not care. He was just there. "We should go back to Konoha," Aoba said, as he stood up without saying anything, but he was surprised. Both Sai and Naruto quickly flanked Sakura to help her up. "You sprained your ankle?" She nodded, as he kneeled down and started to spread the healing chakra on her ankle. The foot was bandaged, and held with shinobi wire and gauze, like it was broken rather than strained. "There, all set," he said. Sakura bring weight back down in her foot, as she realized it was gone. "We can reach Konoha by nightfall, if we hurry." Aoba didn't want to admit it, but the look of the Uzumaki. He had to tell the Hokage as soon as possible. He knew that closing oneself off was rather dangerous. All the pent-up anger had to be released in some way or form. The small outburst from before was a clear point to show that something was swelling up inside of him. A rage that was coming to a breaking point. If the Jinjulke broke, then what of the Biju, Aoba thought. The one-room apartment was the same as it always is. As he came back, as he dropped his back in the corner, as he made his way. "How are you doing?" Naruto said. To really no one. "Oh, I'm fine," he said back to himself. "I just discovered my sensei want me to fail." His voice was bitter as he spoke. He shook his head as he muttered under his breath. "Of course they all hate me. What the hell was I hoping for? A goddamn miracle?" He kicked off his sandals, wincing, as the pain from his bleeding feet hit him. He just cursed a bit, sure. After the 4th step, he would stop feeling the pain. He always healed really fast. At least he had something of worth. He could be the meat shield for the group. He grumbled to himself as he pulled off his jacket, completely drenched in rainwater and sweat. He threw it in another corner, soon followed by his shorts and the rest of his wet clothes. He should have taken a shower before putting on his pajama. The problem was the bath in the complex was already closed. It was a one-room apartment after all, and there was a bath for every floor, and it worked on an hour basis. He had the last hours of early morning, so the sweet pleasures of hot water was removed. But he didn't really care. He felt tired though, considering that he could usually outrun all of his classmates, meant that he was really at his limits. Sakura had to be carried home by their sensei since the kunoichi collapsed halfway. Sai had come back to Konoha with them and just disappeared in the dark night. He fell down face first on his mattress with a soft thud. No worries clouding his mind. The next moment, as a shadow appeared in the room, a kunai glinted in the night. The sleeping form of Naruto was there as the kunai fell right down on him. Naruto Uzumaki awoke with a startled cry from his nightmare. As he looked around, the bright, cheerful sun illuminating his room. The birds were chirping. That really annoyed him, as his ears twitched. He sighed as he looked towards the clock. He had 5 more minutes before his shower time. He could start on his breakfast. He opened the fridge, hoping that he had a cup of instant ramen somewhere, but inside there was only air. He opened the cupboards, but inside was nothingness. The orphans had a stipend from the state, provided they enter the ninja academy. Entering the shinobi program granted you a few benefits, amongst which was a one-room apartment. He ignored the rumbling of his stomach. He could always push himself into a diet, just to save off the hunger, like those models on the posters all around town. He grabbed the towel and his soap as he headed off. Getting down there, the water was freezing cold, as he had no choice but to let the cold water run. No matter how much you yell, people that didn't want to listen or just really didn't care, well, they did not listen. By the time he was done, he was shaking as he covered himself with a towel, as his teeth was matching together. He was just glad that it was a summer period. During winter, he brought the pans of water back in the apartment to heat them, and then he brought them back out to have a shower. He finally returned to his room as he grabbed some clean clothes and he placed them on. A soft, tan jacket with a grey shirt underneath and dark shorts. He could press himself against the wall of the village and appear a part of the scenery. He did that once and it worked because his light blonde hair fit perfectly with the beige that the walls were looking like. He fastened the forehead protector on his left shoulder as he headed out. It was then that he realized their sensei hadn't given them a place to actually meet. He took a deep breath as his eyes settled on the Hokage's tower. There was something that he couldn't avoid now. The Hokage knew the reason, and it was time that he found out. Yes, it was time that he knew once and for all. As he made his way, his stomach grumbled. The thought about actually talking to the old man started to sound less and less appealing. Without money, it was like he could go to Ichiraku. However, he breathed in and out as he tried to calm himself. The stairs seemed so long, but by the time he reached the end of them, the Hokage office was seen. As he knocked softly, before taking a peep in at the same time. "Hokage-sama," he said. "Naruto," said Saruto with a warm voice. "Please, come in," he said. The office of the third was something he became accustomed to, but in the few months he stopped visiting it like every other thing. The old man behind the desk was the most powerful shinobi of the village, but he was not capable of doing everything and being emperor at once. "I pass," he said, trying to make some sort of conversation. "I know, you did well. Would you like to go to Ichiraku Ramen to celebrate?" His eyes lit up at the perspective. He found himself smiling back. "I don't know." The Jonin seemed really keener on getting me and Sakura out of the team. Hiruzen merely nodded back. I was informed, but he did what he thought was right. There was no favoritism that was being played. "He told me," said Naruto. The old man sighed as he gestured for Naruto to come over, as he did, as the both of them looked over Konoha. "Konoha is a beautiful village," Hiruzen said. "But its people, some of them, are wistfully ignorant, and others have their hearts ripped apart by a great tragedy that fallen us 12 years ago." "The Kyuubi," said Naruto, as he flicked his gaze on the Hokage to the village itself. From its spot, they all look like ants crawling around their nests. "Yes, the Kyuubi." The Hokage voice was laced with worry, and quite a bit of guilt. He frowned. What did the Hokage have to be guilty about? The fourth Hokage sacrificed himself to kill the Kyuubi. That is a story that is told, but that is a lie. Naruto tensed. What the hell did the Kyuubi have to do with him? The Bijous cannot be killed, Naruto. It can only be sealed away. No. He wasn't actually going to say that, right? No, that can't be possible, Naruto thought. And the only thing strong enough to hold the Kyuubi was a living being. The third Hokage turned and looked at Naruto with his eyes, slightly watery. He wished for the people to view the container of the Kyuubi as a savior. He wanted everyone to see him as a hero, the old man said. Yet they view him as a beast that he contained. As the jail, and not the jailer. That living being was a baby. Me, said Naruto. I'm a Jinchuriki. He started to hyperventilate as tears started to stream down his face. No, you have it wrong. It can't be, JJ. Hokage-sama. It can't be. No, said Naruto. You heal fast and normal, Naruto, said Sarutobi, trying to calm the boy down. Why? Why me, said Naruto. Tears were streaming on his face, going down towards his shirt. Why the hell did he have to be the one with such a thing inside of him? Why him and not someone else? Someone in the family. One of the clan kids. They had family to help them. Why him, an orphan that had nothing? To feel more pain? You. Sarutobi looked back to Konoha, a regretful look in his eye. You were the closest, he said. Only because of that? I was the closest? I was a baby, right? I was the closest what? The door to the nursery? The closest what? The window? I was in the corner amongst the other cribs? What? I was the only newborn around, taking a stroll around Konoha. What the hell was I close to? Naruto, I'm sorry. The third got down on one knee to be on the same eye level as him. I know that this is a lot to take in, but I'm fine. Naruto blurted out. I just want to know why. Why didn't you tell me? If they all knew. They don't all know, Naruto, Hiruzen said. The new generation were not told. Since I saw how much hatred the old one had, I passed a lot to keep that secret so that you could at least grow with some friends of your own age. But it seems I was wrong once more. Poisoned by subtle words. I saw you grow up alone and isolated. Oh, it's alright, said Naruto. I just have to show them, right? To show them that I'm not the Kyuubi. Yes, said Sarutobi. A small smile flickered on his face. You just have to show them, he said. Did my parents abandon me after I became a Jinchuriki to ask? Oh, no. Absolutely not. They didn't, said Hiruzen. They loved you very much. They died during the Kyuubi assault. But if they were here, they would have loved you very much. There's nothing left to prove it though, said Naruto, with a side smile. Don't worry. I'm fine, he said. How about we go to Ichaka Ramen? Asked Sarutobi. I've been hearing your stomach rumble since you came in. I'll have a look at the orphan check. It is supposed to come in punctually in your bank account now, since you are a shinobi of Konoha. Thanks, JJ, said Naruto, as he walked alongside the old man, towards Ichaka Ramen. Meanwhile, deep below Konoha, Danzo's Shinmura was reading a report from an NE operative. At least he's no longer yelling. Orange, we're in maniac, said Danzo as he looked through the masterful written kanjis of Sai. The innovation that the boy had created because of what Sai had was a spur of the moment thing, but it was still valuable. It reminded Danzo of another shinobi who could do the same, think so quickly on his feet. It reminded him of another shinobi who would tweak the summoning jutsu to become a silent thunder in the battlefield. Of a man that could kill thousands with grace, elegance, and without show displays. This boy reminded him of a real shinobi, one that lived his life in the shadows. What is your personal opinion on the boy, Sai? Asked Danzo. He's strange. He's a mystery. Roots didn't have any emotions, so it was rather strange for Sai to have his own. Yes, he was rather different. Oh? Why would you say that, Sai? Asked Danzo. He thought the test is more difficult on purpose. Because of him. He said that everyone hated him, but it doesn't really make sense. If he's hated, why does he wish to become a shinobi of Konoha, Danzo-sama? Naruto Uzumaki is a flight risk for Konoha. Your mission is set to that. You are to observe and test his loyalties to see whether or not that he is true Konoha shinobi. Should he be lacking, should he betray us, you are given the order and the go-ahead to execute him. Yes, Danzo-sama. With those words, Sai was excused. Danzo turned back to his own desk as he brought out a folder. He flipped it open. Inside there was pictures of the fourth Hokage. If Hiruzen doesn't Then I will. As he snapped the folder shut and placed it back in the drawer, he stood up and walked out of his office that was deep in the complex of a hidden root base. The white and smooth walls of the complex gave way to the rugged features of the hidden passageway that he used. Walking slowly, because he had no desire to run, he made his way into the forbidden side of Konoha Library. As he moved to a particular archive, with a single hand sign he broke through the seal protection as he removed a thick leather book from within. The title of the book was Shinobi Analyst. As he turned to the sliding wall, once again re-entering route, he smiled slowly. At the same time, Naruto Uzumaki was nearing the Ichiraku Ramen stall. Once, the name was Ichiraku Ramen, but the name had changed to only Ichiraku's after. Maybe I should have gone to the bank first. I could have fixed my tab then, said Naruto. Oh, said Hiruzen. Don't worry, this is my treat. I'll let you go afterwards, alright? Alright, said Naruto. As they entered the stall, I am San, said Naruto, as he took the first 3 seats in the corner. Sarutobi was surprised by Naruto's somber tone. He knew that Naruto changed his behavior, but he hoped that it hadn't leaked towards the people that cherish him. Naruto? She smiled towards the boy, as the girl moved around their stove. While ramen was served in the stall, it wasn't the only food available. That is why Hiruzen took him here so early. Hokage-sama, her eyes fixed on him. My, if it isn't young Ayam-chan. How are you doing? Everything is fine, Hokage-sama. She was flustered at Hokage calling her Chan, but said nothing. So what can I bring you to? I'll have a milk and a bread, Ayam-san. Its voice was low, like a whisper. Hiruzen frowned. He offered to buy breakfast for the boy. He thought that he would say ramen, for him to not, well, want that. They would have probably gotten for the usual breakfast. Egg, or fish or something else. He would have even gone for the pork, just to splurge just a bit. But milk and bread, there was something wrong. There had to be something wrong. He was a professor, and yet he couldn't see it. Something was off as the other people came to the place and greeted him, and they ate and left. What wasn't he seen? I'll have tea. Ayam nodded. As Hiruzen realized the girl didn't comment on Naruto passing the exam at all. He wouldn't say that she was giving Naruto the cold shoulder, but the feeling of warmth was missing. It was then he realized Toki was missing. Was the older man sick? He quietly wondered that as their orders arrived. As he sipped his tea calmly, his eyes went to Naruto was calmly eating his own breakfast. Calmly. Naruto eating calmly. That just didn't make sense. The boy seemed subdued as he ate. Naruto, a cheery voice said, as Hiruzen was surprised how fast the boy finished eating his food, as Sakura's voice broke through the stall. As he stood back up, have to go, he said as he dashed out. Like that wasn't extremely suspicious. And picking up his tab. How much does he owe you? Said Sarutobi. Ayam looked perplexed as she looked down, her face looking grim. Nothing, she said, in a whisper. He's always paying, even when I offer him the meal in the house. I think he'll leave a few Ryu on the counter, even when he doesn't order food. I find a few stacks every now and then. Why would he do that? Said Sarutobi. I think he feels guilty, Hokage-sama, she said in a low voice, as she grabbed the plate and moved to the sink to clean it. Hiruzen scanned the spot where Naruto had been earlier, and then back to Ayam, as her shoulders were rather tense. He then glanced towards the corner. Once Toki had told him that he had placed a frame of Ayam's mother, because even from heaven she loved to watch him cook. Now, next to the frame of Ayam's mother, there was another one. Of her father? Time skip, as Naruto was following Sakura down the road. As Sensei was looking for you everywhere, she said. I didn't know where you lived, so I went over to Ichiraku Ramen. Seems I was lucky. As Naruto was barely listening to her. He shouldn't have gone to Ichiraku Ramen, but he had a debt to pay after all. He always would. Sakura started to talk, saying that eating ramen so early in the morning was bad for him, and she thought that she saw the Hokage beside him. Other 12-year-old things that kids in that age could talk about. He was the Jinjulki of the Kyuubi, and here he was listening to this girl that said that she heard from a trustworthy source that Sasuke liked long hair. She should know that it is easier to grab onto a long hair in a battle. But he wasn't going to say anything to start a problem. Training Ground 13 was nothing more than a few scrubs here and there. A big tree was in the center. Sai was a few feet away, painting with his brush. Sensei, I found him, Sakura said. Aoba Sensei pushed himself off a tree as he walked over. as Sai put away his scroll and came over as well. Well then, said Aoba, we can now begin our introductions as Team 13. My name is Aoba Yamashiro, and just as planned, I decided to train you all into chonins and then hopefully see you all pass onto the rank of jonins before I die of old age. I like grated yam and yamaku. I dislike improvising and randomness. I work for the torture and interrogation department of Konoha, and I'm a jonin sensei as of this year. I held the title of Takebitsu Jonin last year. My dream for the future is to get you all promoted. Your turn, Sai, he said. My name is Sai Sato. I like drawing beautiful things. I dislike having to see ugly and dickless things. He couldn't get to finish a sentence as she punched him right in the ground. You damn punk! What the hell is your problem? She said. I'm gonna... Haruna-san, said Aoba. As Sakura looked around bashfully. It's your turn, he said. As Sai picked himself up, Sakura nodded. My name is Sakura Haruno. I like... She giggled with a faraway glance. I dislike Sai to begin with, and Ino pig, and Ami stupid. My dream is to... She giggled. A slight drop of blood falling down her nose. Naruto saw their Jonin sensei's sign of frustration. As he turned to look at him. Naruto. Your turn. My name is Naruto Uzumaki, he said. His eyes looked towards the ground. Before he spoke. I'm the jailer of the Kyuubi, which makes me a Jinjulke. Konoha hate me, and I'm nearly dead last. I would like to have friends. I like silence. And homemade ramen. I dislike the time it takes to make ramen, or when it burns, or turn out raw. I dislike being stared at, or people whispering behind my back. My dream. Revenge wasn't the answer, he thought. He hated the glares, he hated the whispers, the pettiness of some people. But he couldn't hate all of Konoha. Some people was kind to him, like Toki and Ayam, and the third Hokage was kind to him as well. But becoming Hokage was no longer his dream. He didn't want to become Hokage. He would have more luck with that dream than becoming the boogeyman of the Elemental Nation, or destroy the Hidden Stone blind and barehanded. He just didn't want to remain alone. Was it that difficult? He wistfully used to imagine himself playing with children. Loud games once, but now he can imagine himself being alone and quiet in silence. He would have been fine with barely a friend or two good friends to talk with over a cup of tea. My dream is to make friends and keep them no matter what. Who was he kidding? People would run from him the moment he told them the truth. The Kyuubi inside of him would make sure of that. It was enough that he could actually walk through the streets. He wondered if anyone tried to kill him before because of the beast that he held. Maybe he had done so in the orphanage. Maybe that was the reason why the Hokage had to place him in that one-room apartment. What if he didn't wish to become a shinobi? Would he have to live a normal life with a monster in his guts? He needed to know more about how. The librarian didn't like him at all. Not even one bit. As he was so lost in his thoughts, he didn't see the look that was in Sakura's eyes. Or the look that Aoba Sensei was giving him. And he also missed a curious look on Sai's face. The first emotion that Sai has ever had before, since being on his team. I can be your friend, said Sakura, as she held on to his right hand with both of her hands. We can be friends, right? She said. Oh, right, said Naruto. The girl's eyes were shining with determination by then, like a fire had been lit under her. Alright, let's all be friends, she said, as she grabbed onto Sai and pulled him forward, all their cheeks brushing together. As she smiled, with a peace sign between them, there was a flash. Well done, said Aoba. The man was behind him now, and there was a... photographer in front of them that just took the picture. I'll have the negatives develop in a second, the cameraman said, as he grasped 3 pieces of slips from his pockets. He stacked them together under the camera, the old-timey camera. The next instant, chakra swirled down as it went down on the slips. He framed all of them as he handed them out. Their sensei hummed his approval at how the photos had come out. As Naruto looked, well, like him and Sai were about to fall, and Sakura had her hands around them. Sai had his eyes open in shock, holding on to the scroll that he was painting on earlier. He, on the other hand, had a small smile on his face at being with his team, his supposed friends, while Aoba Sensei was twirling a kunai with one finger that was pushing up his glass. It actually looked like a pretty team picture. He had to admit it. Yes, he could live with this. Yes, he could live with this for now, he thought to himself. Time skip as Naruto tossed a ball. Dog. That was the first D-rank mission he was given. Dog sitting. As he tossed the ball, the dog came back to him. Sakura was struggling with her dog, Seeing that, well, it was a husky, she thought that it was the calmest amongst the bunch. But it was actually the most wildest, moving around, pulling her everywhere. Gather them. We're on a schedule, said Aoba, as he dropped down from the tree that he was in. As Sakura ended up pulling too hard on the leash, only for the dog to pull back. She fell. Damn it. Naruto, can you help me, she said. Naruto made his way over, as he was holding the leash with his own hand, with his dog, who was rather calm at his side, as he was just playing fetch with him. He took the husky leash, and gave Sakura his. The husky came at his side, as it barked. How did you do that? Said Sakura, as she was yanked away and fell down, as Aoba mouth started to turn up into a smile, as Sakura grumbled. Let's bring them back to the owner, said Aoba, as he started to make his way. Then, well, go over to the training ground. Sensei, are we gonna learn something cool? Like something powerful, Sakura asked. Well, you see. Having a powerful, cool move mean nothing, ugly. As Sai was punched right down into the ground. Haruno. As Aoba shook his head. How many times do I have to tell you? You're a Kunoichi of Konoha, and it's unacceptable for you to be mishandling a comrade in such a way. And for you, Sai, if you're going to choose a nickname, you can at least choose one that is positive. I understand, Sensei, the boy said, as he analyzed Sakura. Plank. What do you mean by that, she said. Your thick, sturdy legs. With your flat, boom, she punched him right in the face again. Aoba shook his head as he just continued to walk, as Sai pulled himself up. Maybe just call her Sakura, said Naruto. Sai looked at him. Sakura? What? She turned as she looked towards him. Sakura, he said. A redeeming quality, he said to himself. Whatever she said. As Naruto raised the eyebrow. The cherry blossom Sakura trees, said Sai. Her hair is pink, just like those. Oh, right, said Naruto. Sai said nothing as they continued to walk as they arrived at the owner's house. The man first went towards Naruto as he took the leash from him, as he checked the husky's neck. My poor Bernard, he has whelps. Whelps! Do you think it's fun to tug on the leash, boy? He said. Seeing that Naruto did not answer, the man got angry. I'm not gonna pay someone who badly handled my dogs. My poor Bernard, look how much pain he's in. The dog was at the doorway with his tongue out, smiling. Sir, your dog seem... The man cut Aoba off. No, he's in pain. Wait here. As he went for the scroll, he basically tossed it at Aoba. It was the mission report inside that the customer should be satisfied with the report. Well, how they feel on the team successful rate. There you go. I just knew I couldn't trust a foul creature, he said. The man walked in and slammed the door behind him, leaving the group shocked. Well, Sai seemed same as usual. On the other hand, Naruto, really, what was he expecting? As his eyes looked down, as he rubbed his eyes because they itch a bit. Naruto, Sakura said quietly. But before she could say anything else, Aoba spoke. Well, let's get going then, he said. Marching quickly, the man started to head towards the tower, as Naruto made his way as well, as Sakura was frowning, looking back to where the door of her client was. She had handled the husky. She might have been a bit hard in her tugging, but there wasn't any whelp on the dog's neck, under the collar. He was fine. Even if there was, it wouldn't have been Naruto's fault. It was hers. She memorized the number of her house, as she was going to return there later, apologize, and probably give him a cream for whelps. She quickly caught up to the group, her eyes set on Naruto's back, as she was puzzled. The man had been outright furious, but to call Naruto those mean words was something that perplexed her. The boy was soft-spoken and mostly silent, and he didn't seem like a demon. Wearing his usual clothes with his hair growing out to the sides, he didn't even seem menacing. She could make a scarier face than Naruto, and those whisker marks, they made him look more like a kitten than a dangerous beast. Sai was more scarier than him with that creepy, expressionless face of his. She should make it up to him. Propose that Ichiraku ramen lunch. Yeah, she could do that. Sure, she was dieting and all for Sasuke's sake, but a bit of splurge on something like that wouldn't do her too bad. She had heard of a new type of diet soup, and she was curious about trying it out. Yes, it seems like the perfect solution. Meanwhile, Sai was confused, as he knew that reports took a long while to write, but the man brought it back in seconds. That meant he was planning this from the start, it seems. He didn't even listen to the report. He just brought the scroll. There was no way he could have written something so fast and bring it back. He didn't know what to make of the situation, but he did memorize the name of the street and number of the house. Maybe he will check it later, see if the man was a shinobi who could write really fast, or he had some reason to make them fail, some wicked plot or something, because there was just no way. He would probably have to cut the wire on the house to take out the lighting, break a few panels and a few windows, and, well, blame it on vandals. Of course, he was only doing this for testing purposes. The fact that he felt that Naruto was unjust was not something that really concerned him. Really, he was there only to observe and watch Naruto. He wouldn't act on any of his feelings. The group made their way to the tower as they hand over the scroll. The first shinobi to the right read it. As his face looked perplexed, he handed it over to the other one, who read it, before giving the Hokage the scroll, as Hiruzen read over it. As Naruto lowered his head, Sakura was confused as the Hokage gaze went towards the teacher, as Aoba shook his head no, and the Hokage nodded. The old shinobi then nodded to the other Jonin at his sides, as the both of them nodded back. Very well, the mission was completed successfully. You will all receive the full payment that is due. The amount will be sent to your bank accounts. The Hokage said, dismiss. Once they were outside, very well, this was our first successful mission. Our first D rank, of course. The first, you three ever earn money from mission payment. We should celebrate. Where do you want to eat? I'm offering, of course, he said. We could go to Ichiraku's, sensei, said Sakura, as she glanced towards Naruto with a happy smile, who was now looking at her curiously. She just smiled back at him. It was like this was a big sacrifice on her part, but he then nodded sadly. That was confusing. He was insistent on going there the day before. Now he was so reserved. It's fine with me, sensei, said Sai, as Aoba started to walk as he started to follow him. Naruto, Sakura said, I'm sorry. He looked at her. I am going to speak to the client this afternoon, after training, and I'm going to tell him that I was the one in charge of the... No, don't. There's no need, said Naruto. He has already yelled at me. There's no need for him to yell at you as well. But it's not fair, she said. It doesn't matter. Drop it, he said. Sakura frowned a bit, but she said nothing more. He did not pull on the leash. Certainly, not as hard as her, so he was not the one to be blamed. And yet, he was taking the blame. Why? Well, none of them knew the real reason. After all, yesterday speaking that he was the Kyubi Jinjulhi, he had lowered his face down to the ground, so they didn't really hear him. So they had no idea. Reaching to Ichiraku Ramen, the group was silent, until Sakura broke it. I'm going to take the diet noodle soup. What about you guys? She tried to make conversation as they stood in the stall. Before they all sat down and Sakura sat between both of her teammates with Aoba on Sai's other side. I will have Momentuno noodles, Sai said. I'll take the miso ramen, said their sensei. And then there was silence. Sakura's eyebrows started to twitch as she turned towards her last member, but she turned to see him carefully looking through the menu. And with the look of concentration that he had, she couldn't phone herself to snap at him. His gaze was really soft as he scanned through the small, one-page paper, really calmly. Finally, he took a breath. I will take the pork ramen, he said. The way he said it was like he was fighting a battle with himself. There was really something strange about him, but she knew better than to press him about it. She would just wait. They had only became a team and knew each other good for a couple of days. There was no need to be nosy about it, as she wondered how Ami and Ino were doing with their teammates. The Ami, stupid bitch whore, imbecile, was probably fawning over her Sasuke gun, with her idiotic, stupid, dumb face. Maybe she was even hugging him, or God forbid kissing him. That wouldn't stand. Sasuke was hers. At the same time, Naruto was waiting for his order, as he split his chopsticks. The pork ramen was always his favorite, but since Toki died, he stopped ordering it less and less. The flavor was different as well. Maybe it was just his imagination, but he felt like I almost tried to get back the old flavor of her father. It probably involved lemon or almonds, sometimes even sweets. As he grimaced as they arrived, he started eating quietly. It tastes like something spicy this time going down his throat, but he kept quiet and ate. This was just another part of his death, another part of his punishment. Maybe I almost do it on purpose, spicing his food or giving that strange taste. It didn't matter. He had a debt to repay and he would pay it, even if it meant eating badly. Can I taste it? The voice startled him out of his thoughts. As he looked to the side, it was Sakura that spoke. Her own soup was half eaten. She was eyeing his ramen with a look of curiosity, not one of hunger. His brain couldn't come up with the right answer. So he said the normal thing. No. As he scarfed it down. Hey, it was an honest question. Geez, Sakura said, as she crossed her arms. You order. The diet, Soupy pointed out. Next time, don't. Naruto merely sighed. The reason why he didn't make her taste it was because he didn't want her to realize the taste was slightly off. It wouldn't do well for the business. As he coughed slightly, the spicy taste going down his throat. He weakly looked up towards Ayam with a small smile. As she looked at him with a perplexed gaze. Once they were done, they left the stall. As Naruto was in the back. Really? How rude could you be, Sakura mumbled, as she gave another eyeful to the blonde boy. She wasn't expecting to be rude on food. Maybe he was just a gluttony. He had eaten fast after all. Still, she couldn't compare that to his kindness a moment earlier. It was like he was one that paid for the food, so stinginess wasn't really a problem. Training Grown 13 was quite as always as they reached it. Aoba-sensei flexed his shoulders as he turned towards him. Now there's an important lesson for you to learn before we begin training. I want you all to listen to me. Understood? The three of them nodded their eyes, staring straight ahead at the Genin. As shinobis are prepared force. Improvising on the battlefield is good and well, but it is a sign of a poor ninja. Shinobi, no matter their rank, must prepare carefully for their missions. We are a hidden force that work for money. So one day we might be tasked to retrieve a hostage, and the next day to kidnap a hostage. We might be asked to kill, protect, or demolish, to infiltrate, or to counter a spy. Shinobis must be prepared for anything. If you are not prepared, then you fail as a ninja. A cold breeze rushed through Sakura's hair as she listened. As Naruto remained calm and quiet, Sai was emotionless as always, just listening. As shinobi work is done quickly and flawlessly, he said, a mission must be completed. A shinobi is a part of a military force. You may be called in all hours of the day, even in night, to assist on a mission. And should war begin, you will be deployed. The Corps cannot be left unless a life-threatening injury or old age. You are hereby a member of Konoha Shinobi Force and will remain until death. You may not transfer into another country. You may not refuse Hokage orders. And you will not leave your assigned position. You will obey your commander, always. The three hesitated. Nod came. As Aoba sighed, they were still hesitant. Well, he was gonna begin the training now, so it was up to him to break that out of them. But guys, the BN subs right here. If you want the next part of the to do, like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notification to stay posted. Remember, share all of your friends in your social media platform. But I'm all for now. See you guys tomorrow. Peace.